Good morning.
Morning, Sharita.
Morning.
Morning.
Are we at quorum?
Give me 1 second.
I'm sorry, y'all. Multitasking. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
We're at quorum.
I'll officially call our meeting to order. Good morning, everybody. I'm gonna try not to share. I'm at home, and so usually when I start sharing my camera, everything starts slowing down. So I'm trying not to do that. So please excuse me for not being able to see my face this morning. It is 10:34 a.m. The first item on our agenda is the approval of our minutes. Has everybody had the opportunity to take a look at the minutes? And whenever you guys are ready, I'll entertain a motion or any questions as it relates to the minutes.
All right, Sharita, I was trying to find them to make sure I had read them.
I want to say I feel like I got them and I read them and I responded and said they were fine, but I did not find them Friday before I left.
Yeah, I can't find them in my email right now.
I'm just doing the same thing.
Okay, we'll resend them and we can postpone till next month.
All right, or we will
Apologies.
resend the minutes out to make sure everybody has them, or maybe somebody sent them to me for me to review to make sure that everything was there and then it didn't go any further. I want to say I read them though. We
Last
will
thing I
move
have
on.
is just the agenda. Sorry.
It's okay. We will revisit and approve those minutes on next month's meeting. The next item on our agenda is an update on our unsheltered numbers. Colin, are you ready?
Nicole Lamb might have those numbers. if
I
you want to be
do. I
calling.
was just emailing them. I am sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. My fault. Sorry about that.
No, yeah, I was in another meeting, but there is, okay, so 36 unsheltered families in Durham, 72 unsheltered singles, and then 29 at-risk families are at-risk means 14 days of becoming homeless, and then 31 singles becoming homeless at risk, basically, in Durham. And I'll send the email out.
Perfect. Thanks, Nicole. So that's
All right.
a little bit of positive news. We're down from about 50 last month.
Nicole, can you give us any insights on why it's down?
We've had 5 family rooms open at Family Moving Forward last week. And we had 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 rooms open at Urban Ministry family rooms. And we diverted 7 families this month so far into move-in assistance.
We also have the 6 rooms in the winter shelter for families as
Yes.
well.
Do we know if the 5 families from FMF, if they went to permanent housing solutions, and that same question for UMD, do we have any clue?
I do not. I can check with them and see where they went. I know there was some move-in, one-time assistance for families that Family Moving Forward was doing with rapid rehousing funds.
Mhm.
So I can definitely ask them of those families that exited to make sure.
Urban
Jeffrey,
Ministry-
I know that in the procedures meeting that we had earlier this week, last week, Jeffrey was asking questions about documentation at HMIS about like when people transition and things like that. Are we seeing it in the records when we have that many? I mean, it just surprised me that many units opened up. I'm just curious to find out what happened.
I will say this, we've not tracked it. Do they enter it? Yes. Just we don't have a mechanism in place where we've been looking at all of the outcomes on a monthly basis. We are checking it when we do mid-year and full year evaluations. We look in and see what the positive ones are, what the positive exits are. But just kind of a spot check. As you were speaking, I'm going over now to look at it and see about the one-time assistance one, which we would be able to see pretty quickly.
I'm just curious. I don't know if I want to necessarily have us add it to it, but I don't want us to be surprised, like at certain points in the year when we're reviewing things, if the numbers are not what we would like to see. I would like us to like have a heads up that that's where we're heading, so that we can be a little bit more accountable back to the continuum. Just a thought, just after being in that meeting, just a thought, and seeing this shift in numbers like that just makes me curious.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to add anything?
I was gonna say, Sharita, one thing, and Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, I think a couple family rooms at Urban Ministries had been offline for repairs and maintenance for a period of time. Is that
Yes, they
correct?
were.
So I think that
And
may be part of why there's a big opening at Urban Ministries, because they had some major issues over there, if I remember correctly.
yeah, they did have to get pest control, and they had to do some structural on, like, they only had like 2 family rooms open and they have 9. And there was only 2 open for a while, and now they have 6 open. The other 3 they're still working on with maintenance.
So they only had 2 open. Now it's 6 open, and 3 are still being worked on. So, okay.
And I know with Family Moving Forward, they have 1 that's offline because they're doing reconstruction on that room. They had to do some maintenance on that room. So they have 20 rooms available. The 21. They have the 1 that's offline right now, but they have 20 that are available.
That's good to know. Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions. Let's move along to our next item on our agenda, the lead update. Lived experience group, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Anthony or Ms. Holmes? Anthony?
I believe Angela is here. If you are and able to give it, let me know. Otherwise, I will listen. I just talked to her. I assume she may be having computer slowdown issues. Are you here, Angela?
I see her here. Just muted. There we go.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I got it. Good.
Angela, you might be having audio issues. Is everybody else experiencing that?
If anybody
Yes, yes.
last name. Oh, right. We have what we did. We reviewed the monthly strategy monitor. We have 9 work group members. We have 1 vacancy as for someone with a voice with the youth. And then we have 5 priorities that we are focusing on at the next meeting, which are the length of time homeless, addressing homeless safety for LGBTQ plus, and more shelter beds needed, more robust shelter systems, including day centers and services, and prioritization. That means ensuring appropriate housing matches. And that's all I have.
Okay, and then I will add that the lead work group has also been working with us to review the policies. So the housing barrier assessment, the grievance policy, and the coordinated entry handbook. Also, we are pleased that the Heart team has been having listening sessions with the unsheltered. And so as of the last lead work group meeting, they reported having 40 surveys completed. Once they are done with all of their surveys, I think they were starting with 50. So once they're done with all of those, they will do a finding summary and we will be happy to share that with this group. The next lead meeting is next Monday, November 20th. So that's it. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to take your questions.
I do have a question. So of the people that the Heart team are doing the listening sessions with, are these all homeless persons?
Yeah, they're all unsheltered. Yes.
And have we cross-referenced to make sure or to determine whether all those folks that they're doing listening sessions with are being seen in the coordinated entry numbers?
So not necessarily, because the surveys are designed to be anonymous. However,
Right.
they did one big group, this 40 surveys that I mentioned, that believe they did it at an open table event. So in theory, it's reasonable to assume that some of them are, people that are on our list or that we know about, but not all of them may be.
It's part of the survey getting them connected to that, or no? It's just
Only if
giving
they
you.
want to. Yes,
Okay.
there is a follow-up part. So this is being done by the Heart team, and as you know, they have I forget the name of the position, but there's a follow-up. So if you indicate in the survey that you want follow-up services, then that team will reach out to you to get you connected.
Okay. Okay.
Sharita, to
Yep.
help sort of with this, we are working with and starting the process to work with Heart to get several HMIS licenses for them on a read-only basis, so that they'll be able to, when they're responding, be able to look in the HMIS and say, oh, hey, Johnny is actually connected to Housing for New Hope Street Outreach. So we're reminding him to contact Street Outreach, or telling Street Outreach that we saw Johnny over the weekend and handled whatever the issue was. So we are trying to do a better job of tying the two systems together and making sure that everybody can sort of have access to know who's who and where people are.
And the only reason why I ask is just because depending on the type of information that that the Heart team is gathering from those surveys, if those things can be directly implemented into our system, where there are changes, where there are commonalities or areas that for growth that may be identified, just being able to have the ability to follow up, follow through, see how we did we do better, has a continuum, things like that.
The one thing we did, we were fortunate, Sharita, to have some input into the development of the survey. And so we suggested the demographic information be collected in the way that HUD collects it. So, for example, instead of people identifying their race or identifying their gender or identifying like open-ended questions, we put the categories as drop-down lists the way HUD does. So that will help clue us in as to who's completing the surveys. But you know, like I said, the surveys are anonymous. So if people ask for follow-up assistance, then they will be followed up with, and they will, you know, give a way for people to contact them, and the Heart Team Care Navigators will reach out to them. Thank you, Helen, for that title name.
Okay, thanks. Thanks to you, Angela, and to you as well, Anthony, for all your work on this. I'm really excited to see us grow this group and get more people involved who haven't been an opportunity to voice their opinions and help us be better providers of services here in Durham County. So thank you so much for all your work.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And please
yes,
share
Sharita.
that same sentiment with the group, please.
Yes, Anthony and I are the A team. No pun intended.
Somebody said my name. I don't know who that was.
Can you hear me, Sharita?
I hear you, Angela, but I thought somebody else was saying something right when you said something as well. Okay, I guess not. I guess I was mistaken. I thank you guys for the work you're doing, and I'm excited to see it grow. Then I'm going to move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the information regarding the NOFA as it pertains to youth homelessness and unsheltered. Colin, are you presenting on this?
Yes, ma'am. This is a very, very brief update as we are in the very early stages of assessing what this NOFO is about. HUD released last week notice of funding opportunities for $50 million across the country for continuums of care or consortiums of continuums of care to look at helping youth homelessness. And some of this is capacity building and looking at how to better tie together resources that youth are often looking at. And when we're looking at it and reading kind of the way to put together a collaborative application that would be strong enough to look into this, Durham's youth homeless numbers they're not as high as others in the country. So we thought in order for us to put forth a competitive application, we would really need to kind of combine with several other jurisdictions. So we talked a little bit amongst ourselves and have reached out to Orange County as well as to Balance of State to see if maybe we could do like almost a North Carolina wide system, looking at data, looking at integration between universities and the justice system and where all these places intersect to try and figure out what do we need to do to meet the needs of that 18 to 24-year-old group. So we wanted to just sort of put that out there for the community and for policy and planning to just sort of be aware of. It's on the radar. And at this point, we don't have any definitive answer as to whether or not it's something we can put together. We haven't heard back from our colleagues at Balance of State and Orange. We're trying to get a meeting set up to kind of start talking about and discussing what it might look like. And once we sort of figure out what some of these parameters look like, we'll probably be coming back to policy and planning. We just wanted to share it as we know we've been talking about youth homelessness for a while. And this looked like an opportunity that we might be able to work across jurisdictions to try and get a handle on what does that group look like? What are their needs and what's in place, what's not in place? So we're hoping we can make some progress on that and report back to you. That's all, Madam Chair, at this point.
Balance of state. How many counties does balance of state represent?
Oh, good grief. I can't remember. A lot.
Is it like 40?
79. 79.
Did you say
79.
79?
79. Yes.
So that would be a collaboration between 81 counties.
Yes, ma'am. We think that would be a very strong application to HUD because it would cover almost everybody in North Carolina. The only one it wouldn't cover from off the top of my head would be Wake, but Lloyd, correct me if there's another one we're missing that stands alone.
Mecklenburg.
Mecklenburg.
Mhm.
I mean, there's
Some
12
Cumberland,
COCs, there are
Wilmington.
12 COCs across the state, but the balance of state covers the COCs that are, that covers the counties that are not included in more locally based COC like Durham and Orange County. Wake County is also a more local COC. So balance of state, as you know, we already work with balance of state and Orange in the HMIS implementation. So this would be a continuation of collaborating with them if it works out.
We will talk to Wake County. Wake County is going through some transition in their continuum right now. So we have not gotten in touch with them yet.
So I don't know. Does anybody else have any questions about this? I know that Danielle said that she is very interested.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm interested in hearing more information. And seeing I imagine it's too early to really know what the goals are of this or what we'd even be trying to accomplish here, I guess. So it's interested in hearing more information.
So my question is, historically, this belief that our youth numbers are low has kind of been the going thing. What makes us as a continuum feel like we are ready to embark on this particular NOFO request from HUD?
Well, we haven't determined whether or not it's something we can do. It's something we want to look into and explore. And given that we've got Life Skills Foundation, we've been hearing from NCCU that there's and Duke, we've been hearing that there's students, a lot of 18 to 24-year-olds that are homeless. We haven't been able to count the HUD homeless in Durham. I think there's a lot more that are precariously housed and falling in the Department of Education definitions of homelessness in that age group. And in order for us to be competitive, because $50 million isn't a whole lot of money to go across the country. So if Durham, for us to try and do this by ourselves, we sort of thought it would be a lot of time to put something together that would be unlikely to be funded due to the size and scope of what we could present at this point. And we thought if we could pull together a large enough consortium, that might be something that would be attractive and help us a lot. As we know, people experiencing homelessness move across jurisdictions on a very, very regular basis. And just here in Durham, we've got, people moving from Orange to Wake, from Durham to Person, Durham to Chatham. Person and Chatham are in balance of state. So this would be a really great way of trying to collect where are people and how are youth moving through the geographic region, and is it big enough to identify this?
Understood.
So we'll definitely be talking to you, Danielle.
One other point I would add to Colin's comments are that the initial information we have from HUD is that they will award bonus points to cross COC collaborations. So there would be advantages to developing something with neighboring COCs in terms of scoring.
Okay.
Can I just add another little bit because Colin brought up the colleges? I've also been involved since 2017, and it was finally came to fruition in 2021. We developed a nonprofit in Wake County to deal with college homelessness. It's called HOST, Housing Options for Students Today. That is, it looks at the alternative definitions to HUD's definition of homelessness. So happy to explore any and all of that with y'all if you feel it would be helpful.
That sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Well, I'm definitely intrigued to hear more as we go through determining where we land on this and what our position is going to be. So thank you, Colin. Anybody else have any questions?
No, just I like your thinking, Colin, about understanding how transient youth are and don't really, recognize county lines. So, yeah, let me know how we can help.
Looks like there's another meeting going on. So we are now at the last item on our agenda, which is our faith-based initiative update. I will lead, and then if I forget something, then Nicole, Colin, feel free to jump in. I think Colin has to leave to go to a meeting as well. So we did meet on last Wednesday with DCIA Executive Director, and we had a very good conversation. And from that conversation, it was decided that we needed to do a in-person / hybrid presentation to the faith community, and that Brianna would be responsible for helping us secure the location, the Zoom link for the hybrid piece, and helping us get participants from the faith community to come in and participate and hear us kind of talk about what our needs are. That meeting is scheduled for Wednesday. Is it the 29th, Colin?
It's the 29th, Sharita.
Yeah. Wednesday, the 29th, between 11 and 12. The space limitations will be 50 in-person folks. And then, of course, the hybrid is how many ever people feel like they are interested and want to learn more and will log in and hear a group of us talk about what our needs are as far as families in Durham. I know that Colin wanted to potentially use some of this time to kind of plan out maybe our ask for that presentation. Colin, do you have to go now?
I can stick around for another couple minutes, and I might be back. It just sort of depends on if this meeting ends up getting canceled or not. I haven't seen a cancellation notice. The hope, I think, Sharita, we had talked sort of about what is it that we want to be asking the faith community for. And when we met with DCIA, they were suggesting that we make the request kind of as big and as broad as we want and give the faith community options to choose from. And this is kind of looking at specifically what kinds of things could the faith community be asked to do to assist with family homelessness specifically. And we wanted to sort of make sure that while it was a small group of us who met last week, we didn't want to go in and think we had all of the answers, because there may be things that others on this in the policy and planning group may say, oh, you know what, this would be a really creative solution and a good place for the faith community to help. So it was kind of a chance just to kind of brainstorm and work through what are people on the call hearing as needs, as well as what are some possible solutions that may have come up or you may have that the faith community could step up and figure out how to help make happen as we prepare for this meeting next week or 2 weeks from now.
And then the last thing that we talked about was trying to make this not just like an annual ask every time we feel like we're in a bind, but to hopefully establish some kind of ongoing relationship with our faith community to be able to voice back what the continuum needs and how the faith community can help us on an ongoing basis. So the floor is open for any suggestions or ideas or thoughts that folks might have that we could include in our ask on next or 2 weeks in 2 weeks. I will entertain suggestions. And Colin's jumping off, so I'll make a list.
I'm sorry, Charita, I had to step away for just a minute and just got back. We're talking about things that we can ask our faith community to support the homeless system with.
To help. Specifically, our ask was around helping with our homeless family challenges that challenge that we're having right now, and they want us to kind of come with a barrel of ask of ways that the faith community can help, no matter how big or how small or how broad or how specific, that we would like to make sure that we include in the discussion with them on the 29th.
Well, obviously shelter options, emergency shelter options would be good.
If they have like properties that they, may rent, or parishioners that are landlords that are willing to either accept vouchers or, not dedicate, but allow us to connect our clients to them, I guess, specifically to rent from them, that would be nice.
If I could interject here, also parsonages. Remember, I came from Balance of State, and that was our ask. But most pastors don't move into the parsonage anymore. So a lot of times the churches are using it for vacant space, and we were able to harvest a few of them from churches who were just using them as office space. We were able to get them to rent to clients.
I'm sorry, was that someone else?
Right.
Who was that?
I think it might have been some background noise.
Okay, I know money was funds. Was one of the asks we had. We did learn in that meeting that DCIA had a program some years ago that kind of closed up a little bit after the pandemic, which is their home share program, where people would donate like a room in their house. Well, not donate, offer a room in the house for somebody to come and live in their house. I think there's a payment involved. I don't know what all the parameters, I can't recall right now what they were, but they are in the process now of trying to relaunch that. And so we did have a little conversation with Brianna about the possibility of us being able to take advantage of that from the perspective of the shared housing model. And so just kind of stay tuned, because I think it's a plan for Brianna and Colin to have an offline conversation to figure out how we can benefit from that program, but also maybe help DCIA, because they were looking to hire staff to kind of try to manage it all on their own. And so Colin was talking about some of the supports that we have already in our community that might be able to address some of those challenges where we could collaborate more. So you guys will probably have some discussion about that sometime in the near future, as well as they are ready to move back into that space with the pandemic easing up now. So right now I have emergency shelter options, properties that their congregants or the church may even own that we could potentially turn into units where maybe they accept a voucher or things like that. And then also funds to kind of help us fund temporary spaces as needed. Any other things?
Yeah, I keep thinking about the things that we run into, help with copays with medications, transportation, all the things that, people need, that's not always easily available when they need it. I know there's some social services have had some funds available to help with back rent or funds that's in arrears, but that could still be an opportunity, helping people get caught up on things, because I don't know how quickly those wheels turn. Somebody identifies that I'm 6 months behind on my rent, how quickly would they be able to get help to take care of that so that they could get housing somewhere else? I'm just thinking about things like that we run into.
Yep, those are good thoughts. Just also remember that the Healthcare for the Homeless Clinic is here and available for people if they are a patient in our clinic and they and Lincoln carries the medications that they're on. We have the ability to get them their medications, even if they're not able to pay. So that is always an option.
Yes, and we're grateful for them.
Sarita, I'm not sure how soon something like this could be launched, but I'm familiar with a project where churches have come together to bring substandard places that are owned by older congregate members, where they're coming together. There may be contractors in the churches, plumbers in the churches, and I know this particular community, they have contractors involved, but they also have some seniors who own like properties that they're not using, like maybe their mother passed away or someone in the family left the property, they don't have the money to rehab it. These churches and their contractors that are in there are coming together kind of as a fundraiser, not a fundraiser, but kind of a community event. They just had one recently in Johnston County where the churches came together. Some of the volunteers came in and like cooked hot dogs and stuff, but then it's more like a habitat thing. They came in and worked on this property to bring this property up to standard so that it could be rented. So pulling together all of the churches and kind of pooling their resources. So I guess the bigger ask would be if there are contractors who would be willing to donate time and possibly effort into bringing some substandard properties up to the point where they could be rented to our clientele.
Sounds good.
I'm looking as contractors needed in your congregation.
Any other suggestions?
I think these are all great ideas. This is Heidi. And probably this would fall under the category of emergency shelter, but I was thinking we were going to ask the CIA, the congregations in particular, if they could be supportive of White Flag Nights, maybe in a similar way that I think there's a very organized process in Wake County where churches help.
Mm-hmm.
This is we did talk about this during the meeting. I think one of the challenge we did have one local church in the past that wanted to stand up some emergency winter shelter options. And the challenge that they had was they were an older congregation, so their members couldn't necessarily always staff the facility when it was open. And then I think the other concern was behavioral concerns, challenges like that. and not being able to have the ability to kind of know how to work with people who needed some additional support in the church setting. And I think one of the challenges that we've had is that we don't have the manpower to support. You know, if a church said, let's open the doors, they might then be coming back to us asking us to help staff the doors. But we did talk about it as an option, and I think that's still going to be communicated in the meeting. But I will make sure to share that also with Colin as we are drafting the ask.
I think the family promise model, I think when we had discussion before, we were talking about the family promise model. And family promise model is that it wouldn't be a church takes in the people and then they're responsible for them and they're covered. The family promise model is much smaller. A church may take in just 3 or take in 1 family, and that church would have them for a week on their site, but another church would be responsible for providing volunteers to feed them. And if we're doing it with a large number of churches, your church may only have 1 night where they're expected to send someone over, and there is a training involved. That training, Family Promise offers that training for training volunteers of how to deal with it. You also, the church has the ability to say yes and no, because we're talking about emergency shelter, and at this point, a church would need to feel comfortable. So it wouldn't necessarily always be the greatest low barrier approach. But if we're talking about an emergency situation, then we want to have more than a couple of churches and not overburden any one church. If we had larger participation, I mean, you can set it up in a nursery. If a church that has a nursery, it's pretty easy, but spreading it out more so and having it over a larger number of churches. Family Promise, their model, when there isn't a standing Family Promise location, their model is church rotation.
And prior to, I will just add to that. So with you making a statement that you just made, Jeffrey, it makes me think of 2 things that we used to have in our community some years back. So before Families Moving Forward was Families Moving Forward, it was Genesis Home, and there was another entity in our community called, oh my goodness, I can't think of the name of the word.
Yeah, it's Durham Interfaith Hospitality Network.
Right.
Yep,
And so
which is
their
what
model,
that is Family Promise now. They all changed their names. All the affiliates changed their names to Family Promise. And I was the Family Promise Executive Director in Wake for 5 years.
Oh yeah, great. Okay.
So yeah, so that model was ran pretty much like the way you're describing, and then our IHN and Genesis Home joined together and became Families Moving Forward. So we had that. But then the other part of that came out of Genesis Home / Families Moving Forward, they used to have a program called Circles of Support, and that's when they would ask different congregations to kind of like embrace one family and provide supports to that family, once they move out of shelter. And I don't think that they use that model anymore now, but we used to have that program as well. And that still might not be a far-fetched ask if a faith community or a church body was interested in becoming a circle of support. I would imagine we would need to get, the training in place, and maybe Families Moving Forward still has those materials, because I think Tasha Melvin was the person who was kind of managing and navigating the family support program at Families Moving Forward at that time. But I think that is, also a place as we do recognize that we are in short supply of adequate supportive services for our population, that actually might be a reasonable ask as well.
How did that work, Sheree? I mean, was it effective?
So because I don't work in the family world, I can't recall the success of that program. Tasha would probably be the best person to be able to answer questions to you about how it went.
Okay, because there were things that we could learn from maybe what didn't go well. And if we have Danielle, and Danielle has worked in that model, and managed it. I think, without with you, that may require some additional, investigation to see if we could possibly do it again and maybe learn from what maybe didn't work before and see what we could modify.
Any other suggestions from anybody? All right. Well, that was the last item on our agenda. I will definitely take this information back to Colin. Thanks for your participation today, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn if folks want to get some of their time back.
I move to adjourn. Thank you.
There's a request from Damien wanting to know if the copies of the recordings will be made available.
Copies
of this meeting, I'm assuming. Yeah, Damien says, do we get copies of these recordings?
Melissa, are you on? Do we send out the recording transcript as well to everybody? Melissa? Is Melissa on? The Zoom account is public.
Melissa said, yeah.
The YouTube is public. The YouTube is public. So it should be on our Durham COC page.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week, and we will talk again in December.
Make a motion to end the meeting.
Thank you, Angela. Bye, everybody. Well, Helen had already did it. So did you second that?
Yes.
All righty. All those in favor, we can end our meeting now.
All right.
Have a great day.
Bye. Have a great, happy Thanksgiving.
Mhm.